Katt Williams recently spoke out against countless powerful Hollywood figures in a podcast with Shannon Sharpe, and they are not happy. What makes Katt's expose so dangerous is that tens of millions of people around the world believe he is telling the truth. This man is speaking against the evils of this world. Thank you, Katt Williams. This generation is hungry for the truth. Thank you, Katt, for speaking your truth. We absolutely believe you.
They canceled me for talking about Harvey Weinstein before the thing came out, but he offered to suck my penis in front of all my people at my agency.
Now, a lot of what Katt said in this podcast cannot be proven true or false, but because he is funny, a good storyteller, and most importantly, confident with his words, this allowed him to convince millions that he's telling the truth. Plus, we all know that celebrities don't often speak their true thoughts on the industry or politics out of fear of being canceled. However, some things he said are just straight up lies.
I'm probably reading 3,000 books a year from the time that I'm 8 years old to the time that I'm 12. My next project was to read the whole encyclopedia set. So when you're like 6, 7 years old, you read the whole encyclopedia set, you think you're one of the smartest people in the world.
So apparently Katt read the entire encyclopedia and read 8 non-fiction books every single day from age 8 to age 12. This is impossible, and it's a lie. Throughout this entire podcast, Katt slipped in bold-faced lies which massively contradicts his preaches of spreading the truth.
Nobody knows why liars lie, and that's why I had to come on the program.
Katt exists in this middle ground where nobody can really determine if he is telling the truth, if he is lying, if he's telling a joke, if he's on drugs, if he has a mental illness, or if he is clearly exposing the dark and sinister nature of Hollywood. So today, I am going to give you as much context as possible so you can make that decision for yourself, starting with his earliest introduction to Hollywood on the set of his very first movie, Friday After Next, where Katt played the role of Money Mike, but in the script, Katt alleged that Money Mike was originally supposed to be violently assaulted.
The truth of the matter is, the Money Mike in the original script got raped in the bathroom. Katt Williams had to take the risk in front of the studios and the cast and our powers that be in his very first movie and say respectfully, the problem with Friday After Next is we're trying to make a classic comedy. And this comedy involves a rape. And rape is never funny, no matter who it happens to or what the circumstances are. If you would allow me to allow us to do this movie without a black man getting raped in it, I promise you that it will be twice as funny.
Ice Cube, who wrote, produced, and acted in the film, denied these allegations.
Second thing I want to clear up, I would never shoot a scene in a movie, especially like Friday, where you actually see this happening on camera. That ain't my style. If you check out any of my movies, they not raunchy.
But it's because Katt said things like this throughout his interview caused fans to cast doubt on anyone who denied his claims.
These people are not powerful. Satan can't create anything. That includes blessings for his people. You know what the #1 job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
Is to act like it didn't happen. They all do the same job.
Katt believes he has a more legitimate and honorable legacy than the other comedians he has been associated with throughout his career. These men, Katt says, have formed a gang in Hollywood that actively steal and or blackball young entertainers' careers, which drives them into madness.
For 30 years, they're a group. These aren't 3 random guys. The way that Ricky Smiley kept appearing at all of my auditions is because of Steven said he would tell anybody that, listen, they got a gang on that side. They know what it is. They know who the gang is. All of these dudes are co-entwined and they share secrets, and this is the age of truth, and the truth doesn't need to be scared of the fact that people tell lies.
Katt only mentions 3 of these group members by name: Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, and Ricky Smiley. But you will notice throughout the video he makes bold accusations about many other massive stars like Kevin Hart and Martin Lawrence. Are they also a part of the gang? Well, that's up for you to decide.
If you sign up for their program, you get a light-skinned, weird-faced wife that never do an interview.
Anyways, let's start with Katt's claims that Cedric the Entertainer and Steve Harvey stole his material. But first, I'm gonna steal your attention for just a minute to tell you about today's sponsor. Have you ever Googled your name and seen yourself on one of those strange sites that has way too much information about you? It feels pretty weird. I'd really rather that kind of stuff not available to anyone who's looking for it. Data brokers are making tons of money selling our information to robocallers and spammers. That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura can find the data brokers that are sharing your information. These brokers are legally required to remove your info if you ask them to. However, they make it very difficult to do so. That's where Aura comes in and submits opt-out requests for you. You can see how many data brokers are selling your information and have Aura start opting you out by trying for 2 weeks using my link, aura.com/PatrickCC. AT&T revealed that over 72 million customer records were released on the dark web. They recommend those affected use strong passwords, monitor account activity, and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from credit bureaus. Well, Aura does all this for you, and best of all, it's all in one app. If my info was compromised in the AT&T data breach, I wouldn't worry, because I know Aura would be protecting me. Let Aura protect your information and keep you safe online. You can let people continue to exploit you and profit off your private information, or you can go to aura.com/PatrickCC and start your 2-week free trial. Link is in the description. Thanks, Aura. Katt claims that both Steve Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer have stolen jokes from him. Cedric did it first on the original Kings of Comedy tour in 2000, which at the time was the highest grossing comedy tour in history. Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, and Bernie Mac playing sold-out arenas from coast to coast. The tour grossed over $18 million in its first year. In 1999, both Seagram Americas and HBO sponsored the tour. DL Hewley was added and the 2-year gross exceeded $37 million. And at the exact same time of this tour, Katt was just starting to make a name for himself in Hollywood.
He thought that I was just a no-name comedian and that he could take this joke and nobody would know.
Right.
The issue was that I had already done this particular joke on BET's Comic View twice.
This is the joke that Katt is referring to, which was originally performed in 1998 on BET's Comic View program.
You ever had your car radio up so loud that you couldn't hear the damn thing when it cut off? It looked like this. You flossing in a 6-shift convertible.
Using physical comedy, Katt mimics someone trying to assess why their car just broke down while the music is blasting. The alleged theft came from Cedric the Entertainer 2 years later on the original Kings of Comedy tour, which was in 2000. The premise of Cedric's joke was that white people are obsessed with the moon and space. He says black people are not, but if they gotta go to space, then they would drive the spaceship like this.
We'd drive a space shuttle like it's a 72 deuce and a quarter. Nigga, we get us a cigarette, nigga, we be in a space shuttle, nigga, like it's a 72 deuce, nigga, we get us.
Now, when you consider the music cue, which is not very common in stand-up comedy, that already looks suspicious. Then the side-by-side comparison indicates Cedric makes very similar physical movements that Katt did. Cedric says he did not steal the joke, and that if Katt was so upset about it, he had 30 opportunities to speak up.
Katt say you stole one of his jokes.
Yeah, like, I mean, it was ridiculous. You know what I mean? It was like the idea of the joke that he was even talking about don't even match up with no timeline. So for me, it was one of those things like...
Did you have a conversation? Did you guys sell it? Did you have a conversation with Katt?
I've seen this guy 30 times. Like, dog, if you literally was that upset about it, like, dog,
just step to him and say, hey,
yeah,
hey,
why didn't say nothing? Like, that don't even make sense.
But Katt says that Cedric apologized about stealing the joke years ago, and is now lying to the public that he never stole it in the first place.
Him and Steve had already apologized for me, so I gave him a pass. Why would you sit here and be like, I saw Katt 30 times. Why did I give you a pass if you were just gonna lie?
So imagine how a young Katt Williams felt seeing his best joke being stolen by one of the biggest comedians in the world on the largest grossing comedy tour in history.
He never wrote anything. Remember, when Cedric the Entertainer starts, he's supposed to be singing, dancing, and telling jokes. That's why he's called the Entertainer. He did 4 comedy specials. They're They're so bad, Shannon, they're not available on Netflix or Tubi.
Noticing all the backlash, Cedric responded to Katt's comments on Instagram. Revisionist history. Regardless of whatever Katt's opinion, my career can't be reduced to one joke Katt Williams claims as his. Cedric added, I'm a grown-ass man, and none of that shit going to go like you think. But Cedric isn't the only one that stole Katt's material. Steve Harvey's theft of Katt's jokes is arguably much worse. At the 2005 BET Comedy Awards, Steve Harvey introduced a hot upcoming comedian to the stage by the name of Katt Williams. Katt hit the stage and absolutely dominated the crowd with his joke about gas prices.
Because the world is crazy right now. What is gas? $600 a damn gallon right now? I don't care how much money you got, gas is entirely too high. Used to be, if you put $15 in your tank, you had time to bond with your vehicle. You had time to put the nozzle in and set the clicker and look through your car and clean off the dashboard.
Then Steve Harvey did a joke about gas prices 3 years later in his comedy special, Still Trippin'.
Gas $4 a gallon. Can't even pump gas like you used to no more. $4 a gallon? You remember when you used to go to pump and put the nozzle in there and hit it? Be sitting there talking, be on your phone, hey, what's happening? Be walking around, cleaning the windshield.
It's hard to see this as anything other than blatant theft, but Katt didn't stop there. He continued to expose Steve's long history of suspicious behavior. It started with why Bernie Mac quit the iconic Kings of Comedy tour.
Do you consider yourself a king of comedy?
They consider that.
Oh, that-
After Bernie left, them same 3 guys I'm telling you about, the Kings,
Yeah.
they came to me. I was supposed to be the 4th king. I got the offer.
Then what happened?
But I turned it down.
Why?
Because you shit on Bernie. And I know the truth. You think I'm gonna let you shit on Bernie and then come get me? I'm the next king? Fuck you.
Now, there has been an infamous beef between Steve Harvey and the late Bernie Mac that fans have known about for years. There were often arguments between the 4 comedians of who should be the closer or finale of the tour. Since Bernie was a much funnier comedian, Steve would get booed by the crowd when he performed after Bernie.
Why? Because the whole time Bernie was here, you was acting like you was funnier than him. The reason you was supposed to go last is because it was your tour. Tell the truth. It was Steve's tour. Not it was gonna be called the Kings of Comedy, it was Steve's tour. These are the guys opening for him. Of course you gotta close if it's your tour.
Harvey eventually just ended up being the host of the tour and not performing a full stand-up routine because he just couldn't make the audience laugh as hard as Bernie. D.L. Hewley, who was also on the tour, even said that Steve never thought Bernie would become successful, and when he started getting more opportunities, he became jealous.
You feel that the beef between Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey was because Steve Harvey was getting a lot of network love during the time and Bernie Mac not so much?
Yeah, and then Bernie started to get it. So yeah, I think that, Steve at one point was, uber successful, and then Bernie started to, because he didn't ever think he would get the opportunity he got. But once he did, America loved him, like we all kind of knew they would, and he decided to go a different way.
Eventually, Bernie got sick of Steve hating, realized his worth, and exited the tour, which ended up forcing all 4 guys to split up.
We split up.
You wish you would have stayed, kept it together, could have kept it together a couple of...
We tried everything, but, dudes felt like they was movie stars. I never saw myself as a movie star.
Steve basically claims that Bernie went Hollywood and acted too good for the guys, and Katt didn't like that.
Imagine him coming to tell you another story where he got so big and it was Bernie and them's fault because they wanted to be movie stars. What? You called Ocean 11 to get that nigga's part. What do you mean you didn't want to be a movie star?
Allegedly, Steve even called the producers for the heist comedy film Ocean's 11 to steal the role of Frank Catton from Bernie Mac. Ocean's 11 featured a star-studded cast, including George Clooney, Matt Damon, Brad Pitt, Julia Roberts, and Casey Affleck, among others. The film became a huge critical and commercial success, earning over $450 million at the worldwide box office. Having a substantial role in a film of this magnitude helped the rising trajectory of Bernie Mac's career. An infamous GQ article from 2003 released when Bernie Mac himself claimed that Steve was jealous of him from the very beginning. Overall, Katt is obviously upset about Steve stealing material, but ironically, he was more upset that Harvey tried to lie and claim that Bernie went Hollywood on the Kings of Comedy, when in reality, Steve was so jealous of his success that Bernie couldn't take it anymore and quit.
And now that he gone, you gonna act like he wanted to be a movie star. You stop it. You stop it. That man was funnier than all of y'all, and y'all thought y'all had one over on him. The king is the funniest. Period. Every time. And that's why no audience member was ever swayed. It didn't matter where Bernie went. You think if Bernie went first, he wasn't the king? Get out of here.
But Katt Williams and Steve Harvey's beef did not stop there. A few years later, in 2008, a show promoter booked Steve Harvey and Katt Williams to co-headline a New Year's Eve stadium show in Detroit. Katt entered his villain arc and challenged Steve to a comedy battle on the Jamie Foxx radio show, to which Steve accepted.
You have been the king of comedy as long as we've had one. The second that you get off stage, I need you to understand that that's your final time as the king of comedy. I hope you got a team of writers. You're gonna need about 6 or 7 of them. You can bring The Nation, you can bring Rashawn McDonald, you can bring everybody who listens to your radio show. They gonna see the truth. And its name is Katt Williams. Consider yourself warned.
What was supposed to be just a comedy show is now some sort of 1v1 battle dubbed the Championship of Comedy, and Steve responded with this.
I'm not saying he's in trouble, but I'm saying this right here, Jamie. A dog don't bark at parked cars.
Basically, Steve's analogy was that he shouldn't respond to Katt Williams because he is too famous and successful. So on New Year's Eve, Steve got on the stage and never addressed or made fun of Katt. That was a big mistake.
Please give it up for Steve Harvey one time. Give it up for Steve Harvey. He's an excellent comedian, but he don't want no parts of this in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I don't know why he came out here with all this money y'all spent on them motherfucking tickets and talked about a lady in the audience for 15 goddamn minutes. That nigga should have talked about me the way I've been to talk about his bitch man. And he tried to copy off me and bring that ugly ass, sparkly ass tie out. A regular black suit like he was going to a funeral. Yours, nigga, yours. Nigga he the shit because he was the shit in 1968. Nigga, I'm the shit this evening. Let's fast forward it to when this disrespectful nigga did something called the original Kings of Comedy. Oh. You gonna be the original King of Comedy, nigga. Did it start with you, you disrespectful son of a straight up and down. Start on January 1st trying to find his hairpiece and his career, because I come to put that motherfucker on the ground.
Katt absolutely embarrassed Steve. He claims this was the end of Harvey's career.
Steve told you that he stopped doing stand-up because he had 7 TV shows. The only problem is when he stopped stand-up, he didn't have those 7 TV shows. He stopped stand-up because he got in a comedy battle called the Championship of Stand-Up Comedy with one Katt Williams in Detroit in front of 10,000 people and lost because Katt Williams said he was actually bald and that was a wig. And I went in and that's why he couldn't do stand-up anymore.
Now, Katt isn't very accurate here. Steve had multiple successful arena comedy tours after the championship battle, and Steve was already bald by 2008, so Katt didn't really expose him for having fake hair. But is it a coincidence that almost immediately after Katt got on that stage and exposed his biggest hater in the industry, he started his crazy downward spiral? In November of 2008, Williams missed an appearance on Conan O'Brien and was later arrested that evening when officers found 3 handguns in his car while exiting rapper Jim Jones' studio in New York. That same month, he checked into the Mount Vernon Inn in Sumter, South Carolina. Shortly after checking in, employees reportedly found Williams stumbling around wearing just a bathrobe and a towel wrapped around his head. When police arrived, Williams asked them for directions to the nearest hospital. There, his family convinced him to seek psychiatric help, to which he was eventually hospitalized. He just said that he doesn't trust anyone anymore, that everyone has turned against him. He wasn't really coherent. Pretty much after this, Katt wasn't seen again until 2011. No stand-up performances, no movies, no TV. The only time he was talked about was when he was arrested. In November of 2010, authorities arrested Katt in Coweta County, Georgia, after he allegedly stole $3,500 worth of coins and jewelry. Things escalated in June of 2011 when he was arrested in connection with an alleged assault on a tractor driver. He supposedly conspired with 3 women who attacked the man in his tractor. In 2012, 2012, Williams returned to the comedy world with his third HBO comedy special, Kattpocalypse. Unfortunately, with the spotlight back on him, Katt fell back into a dangerous cycle as the bizarre behavior continued. In October of 2012, Katt and comedian Faison Love got into a heated argument outside of a Hollywood club over a $50,000 debt that Katt owed Love. During the argument, Katt proceeded to pull a gun on Love that wasn't loaded. On November 9th, his former assistant, Melissa Shaig, claimed that he went into a rage and attacked her the month prior. Then police arrested Katt in Oakland, California on charges of suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon after he'd allegedly beaten an 18-year-old with a bottle. On November 16th at the Oracle Arena in California, Katt took the stage while having a total public meltdown. For 15 minutes, he seemed to be under the influence, rambling about nothing while taunting members of the audience.
Well, give me 20, nigga, that's how much the album costs, fuck boy. But I bet if you can walk to your car, I can show your bitch a dick she'll enjoy. So why don't you take your ass on over there, nigga, before I can catch you. Or you can pull your bank out and I'll match you. But you ain't gonna do shit but get punched in the face.
Then the audience began booing him.
Boo! 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 Boo, nigga. Boo! Look at all the broke people. Boo! Your breath smells like top ramen. Get the fuck out of here, nigga.
I am like afraid to leave and I'm afraid to stay.
We know you ain't got no money. We see your outfit, nigga. Get the fuck out of here. Old broke ass nigga.
On November 17th, 2012, Williams got involved in a police chase while driving his three-wheeled motorcycle and failing to stop. Just a week later, Katt was arrested in Seattle, Washington after he allegedly got into a dispute at a bar in the South Lake Union neighborhood. His arrest came after he missed the first night of a planned two-night performance at the Paramount Theater. That same month, he slapped a Target employee in Sacramento for no apparent reason, which was made fun of on late-night television shows like Conan O'Brien. On December 28th, Williams was placed in handcuffs once again on child endangerment charges.
Oh man, Kay, you cool, man? How you doing?
I'm cooler than a fan, man. They took my children from me.
Yeah, I mean,
how terrible is that?
Katt's criminal history does not even come close to stopping here, but I'm sure you all get the point. He was spiraling hard for years, seemingly strung out on drugs or at least experiencing manic episodes. The media called him crazy, a crackhead, and didn't believe anything he was saying since they wrote him off as a madman, but he says he was never under the influence.
I am never under the influence of anything. I'm always in my right mind. I'm always a physical specimen. And when you see me, I'm much, much bigger than you had thought. I have far less play in me than you would like.
There seems to be a pattern with comedians in the downward spiral. In 1990, Richard Pryor, who struggled with addictions to women and hard drugs, poured high-proof rum on himself and set himself on fire. His widow, Jennifer Lee Pryor, claimed it was a drug-induced attempt at ending everything. In 1997, Martin Lawrence was coming off the end of his hit sitcom Martin, as well as starring in the blockbuster film Bad Boys. That year, Lawrence allegedly had a meltdown in Los Angeles where he ran into Ventura Boulevard with a gun and threatened tourists and random people. Sources claim Martin began taking psychotropic drugs and having violent outbursts on the set of his movie, a thin line between love and hate. Martin would continue his erratic behavior, getting arrested for gun possession and later going to rehab. Robin Williams openly spoke about his lifelong battle with addiction, alcoholism, and depression. Comedian Marc Maron has spoken publicly about having severe depression. Artie Lang and Jim Norton as well. John Belushi, Chris Farley, and Greg Giraldo all died of drug overdoses. It's unclear why comedians seem to struggle with mental health more than others in the entertainment industry while being tasked with creating the most lighthearted content. Deborah Serrani, a clinical psychologist who treats performers with depression and other mental health problems, said comedians often wear what we call the mask of depression, which helps them put on a more acceptable face to the world. But behind that mask, there is a terrible struggle going on. There is a stigma about depression, and oftentimes the laughter distracts from feelings of weakness. Katt Williams has had an extremely rough life, starting with being homeless and alone at age 13. Combine that with the chaotic lifestyle of a comedian, constantly being on the road, late nights, irregular sleeping and eating schedules, the pressure to constantly deliver funny and engaging performances, as well as regularly dealing with hecklers and sometimes unresponsive audiences who make the job mentally taxing. And on top of all of that, add the potentially evil Hollywood gang that Katt says is actively trying to get him to compromise his morals, but when he refuses, they blackball him and run smear campaigns to call him crazy. That is a recipe that would make any man go mad. mad. So the question is, was Katt trying to escape an evil industry, or was he actually a drug-induced madman?
Martin tried to put me in my first dress. When he had to go on his hiatus, he tell me, Katt, when I come back, I need you. You my young partner, you my brother in comedy. When I come back, just promise me that my next movie, it'll be me and you. Go do what you gotta do. When you come back, I'm in your movie. Don't trip. I don't need to see the script or nothing. You know, we get in that office and this fool pull out Big Mama's House 2, where this nigga want me to get in a dress with him. And I'm literally saying to everybody, why is he in a dress again?
If it isn't obvious, Katt didn't want to wear the dress. Brandon T. Jackson would go on to portray Martin's son, Trent, in Big Mama's House, where the two go undercover at an all-girls performing arts school. Unfortunately, years later, Jackson asserted that he did the project for money and was unaware of the repercussions it would have on his career.
Did you get like slack when you wore the dress at that moment?
Only Katt Williams. Katt Williams was trying to always say, Brandon, don't wear a dress. You know,
he called you, or is this?
No, he was saying it in the media, so I thought he was heckling me. He was really trying to help me at the time. I didn't know that. I was immature.
Right.
I feel like, dang, why I'm trying to make it. And then he was trying to warn me, you know, don't get in the dress. Everything went wrong, just like everything went right. Everything went wrong when I put on that dress.
Katt has been discussing this subject for years because this has been a pattern that many have speculated is a humiliation ritual. Eddie Murphy, Tyler Perry, Jamie Foxx, Wesley Snipes, Chris Tucker, Arsenio Hall, Tracy Morgan, the Wayans brothers have all dressed up as women for TV or movie roles. Just before Kevin Hart exploded into fame, he also wore a dress on Saturday Night Live. And even 10 years ago, Katt discussed this.
It's two answers. First of all, let's be very, very clear. It is possible that there isn't anything funnier than a guy in a dress. And if that's the case, then it might also be said that there's nothing funnier than a black guy in a dress. Okay, well, Kevin doesn't have to worry about what people are gonna say about him wearing a dress because of the long line of dress-wearing people before him. So now, some of us are against the Illuminati, and we are against the Illuminati at our own detriment. When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them, and nobody likes them.
Katt also detailed an Illuminati meeting alongside Ludacris.
There was a crossroads where we were both invited to an Illuminati thing, and decisions had to be made. So it was both of us, we were equal. One of us had to cut off all their hair and couldn't do the sideburn thing no more with the points. And the next person, they said, was going to get $200 million because they were going to pay him $10 million a movie to do 20 movies. And that's how the conversation happened. One of those persons turned out to be Ludacris, and the other person turned out to be Katt Williams.
It's really hard to back up any of Katt's claims, and even if the stipulation of getting a $200 million deal is that you have to shave your head and sideburns, that seems like an extremely small compromise. And there are no indications that Ludacris ever sold his soul. I mean, he will tell you, he responded to Katt with a rap song.
Never been Illuminati, only Illuminati, and I only left with bitches when coming from any party. Afro with the sideburns, yeah, that's my signature. Addictions on the rise, comedians check your temperature.
Perhaps the most overlooked comment during the interview was Katt's take on Kanye West.
I suspect that we're pretty awful people if we say that somebody got a mental illness and then we watch what they do. If you say somebody got special needs, then why would you be watching them and holding them accountable like everybody else?
The question of whether someone's actions should be judged differently due to mental illness is complex and multifaceted, and opinions may vary depending on cultural, ethical, and legal perspectives. Mental illness can significantly impact an individual's ability to understand the consequences of their actions, to make rational decisions, or to control their behavior. Katt is not excusing Kanye's behavior, and he definitely says he doesn't agree with what he says, but he's just questioning why people are surprised as his whole career he gave obvious signs, such as claiming that he was a god, and he was praised and uplifted for his outlandish behavior. Now, Katt has never publicly disclosed any sort of manic or psychiatric problems, but look at how much the world judged him when he was crazy 10 years ago, versus now he is saying the exact same things he was saying while he was crazy, but today he is more calm, coherent, and of course, entertaining. Now they are quoting his words as prophetic statements of a wise old genius. Funny how things change.